Hello again everyone from Tokyo, Japan, and welcome back to Two Wheels in Tokyo. I know it's only been a couple of days since I last posted a video on this channel, but I said in that video that I was performing a couple of final upgrades to my bike, the last of which would be installing a new fork. And the new fork is installed, and as you can see, I have a beautiful new RockShox Rudy Ultimate Explorer fork with 40 millimeters of travel, and not only that, I upgraded the brakes as well. I was having issues with my Shimano GRX 820 brakes, so I kept the 820 brake calipers, but I upgraded to these Swiss Stop Catalyst Race floating brake rotors and Swiss Stop Exotherm 2 brake pads. And this morning is the first ride I've put on the bike with my new upgrades to it, and I've got to say I'm really happy with the way they've turned out. This wasn't a completely painless operation, upgrading the fork. I've had the fork sitting in my closet for a few weeks now. I went to install it yesterday and discovered that my old fork, the carbon fork, which came on this bike, doesn't come with the crown race on the bottom. So I had to order a 1.5 inch crown race, and luckily I was able to get it ordered and it arrived within a few hours, and I put it on. I got the fork installed and the headset set up and everything else, and yeah, as you can see, it looks pretty good. The brakes I haven't fully seated in yet. I've only got about 10 kilometers on this bike since I installed the brake rotors and brake pads, and by the time I get home they should be reasonably well broken in. And that's about it for the upgrades to this bike. I can't think of anything else which I need to add to it to make it worthy for the Tour Divide. What have I done to it so far? Pretty much everything. This bike was originally a GT grade Carbon Elite, which was the base model of the GT bikes. I couldn't buy just a bare frame here in Japan, so I just had to buy the cheapest bike and upgrade it. So it was originally fitted with a GRX 400/600 driveline with WTB wheels. I chucked all of that stuff and I replaced pretty much everything. There isn't a single original component left on this bike except for the seat post clamp. The first thing I did is I upgraded the crankset with the Shimano XTR 9200 12-speed unit with the Shimano XTR 9120 pedals. These are my favorite pedals. They're light, they're very strong. They have openings on both ends, so you can, they're easy to get in and out of. And I also like that they have large platforms, so if I break a cleat or have some other kind of issues, I can still ride the bike somewhat easily. I also installed an XTR 12-speed 10-51 cassette on the back, and it matches perfectly with this GRX 822 rear derailleur. The wheels are Mavic Allroad. These are the alloy wheels. I was thinking of doing the carbon wheels, and I may still do that, but I'm so happy with how these wheels work. I've put a few thousand miles on these wheels on another bike, and through all kinds of conditions and over all kinds of terrain, they're still perfectly true. I've had no issues with them at all. So I'm tempted just to keep them and just use the money I would use on a wheel upgrade for something else. They're heavier than the carbon wheels, but this bike is quite light. Even with the carbon fork, I'm looking at about 10.5 kilograms right now if I take off the seat pack, and that's even with that heavy Brooks saddle. The rest of the parts on this bike are just really wonderfully light. On the top here, I replaced the seat post with this nice Thompson Masterpiece post, and I got one with that tilts back a little bit because I normally would ride a large frame, but I wanted a medium one because I wanted more standover height, so it would make the bike a little bit easier to manhandle if I'm on the trails or out in rough areas. And in order to compensate for that, I got a slightly swept back seat post, and it works perfectly. I love the cockpit, it's just right for me. When I upgraded the fork, I didn't like how low the stems sat. I don't like them too high, but I like them just a slightly more upright riding position, so I added some length to the seat post, and I have this wonderful Thompson Elite X4 stem. It's a shorter stem. I like a shorter stem to get the bar a little bit closer to the stem. It gives me, I think, better control, and also when I load down a bag on the front, I think that it'll move the weight further back over the axle instead of being over the front or ahead of the front axle, and that should make the bike a little bit more stable than it might be otherwise. And here are the Shimano GRX 820 shifter brake levers. These are perfect. I have no complaints about these. This bike shifts wonderfully. One thing that I considered doing, but not really seriously, was electronic shifting on this bike. Riders on the Tour Divide seem to prefer that SRAM electronic shifting group set, and I was thinking about it, but I've been running DR2 on a couple of my bikes here in Japan, and for the conditions here around the city, I think it's perfect. It's reliable and all that, but I have had failures with it. I've had issues with connections and things like that, and I decided that the last thing I want to have happen in the middle of nowhere is shifting or electronic issues with my shifters and derailleurs, so I decided to run mechanical on this bike. And another reason I like mechanical is that I'm very familiar with it. I used to work in a bike shop when I was younger. I know how to get, to shift a bike without a cable in it, how to move it from gear to gear and have it stay there. All you really need to do with that is just, if your cable breaks, just remove the cable in the back and put a zip tie between those 2 points and just pull on the zip tie until you get it in the gear you want and leave it there, and the bike will stay in that gear. That's something which you can't do with electronic shifting. And I remember I was actually here in this park riding around the cycling trail when I went over a bump and my shifting stopped working. And it turned out to be a connection, an internal connection, which I couldn't easily find. And so I had to ride the bike all the way home in one gear. And though Tokyo around here luckily is not a very hilly place, it wasn't pleasant. So I don't want to deal with something like that, and especially in places where the climate is extreme, like on the Tour Divide. Below freezing weather can damage or destroy batteries, and replacement batteries can be hard to find. And a word of advice for you people who are out there in the extreme cold and you're running batteries, take them out of your derailleur and other places. You either keep your entire bike warm or at least put the batteries in a warm place so they don't freeze and then fail on you. For myself, I don't want to worry about that, so I'm just going to run the cable shifting. I can't think of anything else that I need to add to this bike. Mechanically, it's perfect. It's a wonderful riding bike. Of all the bikes I've had over the years, and I've had a great many, nothing rides as wonderfully as this bike. It's agile, it's very smooth, it's very supple, it has a nice resonance to it. It just makes the experience of riding a bike more pleasant. I came to the park here to test out the fork because there are some paths around the park here for off-road runners, and they don't come this time of day, so I can ride my bike over them. And there are plenty of tree roots and rocks and things like that, and severe conditions which I can use to test the capability of the bike and fork. And after riding around and beating the hell out of this bike over these things, I'm impressed. I really love the way it soaks it up, and I think that this is going to be a good machine for the job. The other things which I'm working on now are putting together the bags and equipment which I will need. I think I have all the bags now. I've got a large seat pack, a handlebar pack, I've got a frame pack, an accessory pack, and that should contain most of the things which I need to get me through the Tour Divide. I'm still working on what I'll need for hydration, of course, my sleeping equipment and tent and shelter, stuff like that. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos and having conversations with people who have participated in the Tour Divide and other endurance bikepacking events. And their information has been really helpful, and I'm putting together a list of the things I'm going to check out and things which I hopefully will be able to find here in Japan. Unfortunately, not everything which you can find in other countries is available here, but on the other side, there's some pretty good stuff here which isn't easy to find in other countries. So however it is, I'm sure I'll be able to get together the stuff I need, and more than likely I'll end up with more than I need, but it's better to have too much than not enough. And hopefully over the next few months, by the springtime, I should have everything I need, and I can go out and make some trial runs in the countryside and see how it works. In the meantime, I've got some long rides planned for this season now that the weather is nice. I'm standing out here and I'm not dripping sweat, which is kind of wonderful, because over the last couple of weeks it's been ungodly hot and humid here. It's nice that we're finally here at the change of seasons, and good riding weather is coming back. I don't like to ride at night, but in the summer that's pretty much the only time you can ride here in Tokyo without suffering. I much prefer to go out and ride during the day so I can enjoy the wonderful concrete jungle scenery, which I have to get through to get out to the countryside. Countryside is very beautiful here. But anyway, that's it for this video. I do plan to make some more videos, including the Tour du Tokyo video, which I promised probably more than a month ago, but which I haven't had the time to make it. Hopefully this weekend I'll have time to go out and get it. And what this is, I plan to take my bike, this one or my other bike, and take a ride to the most interesting points in Tokyo, the ones which are the most popular with the visitors to the city, and get to visit all of them by bike and kind of record what each one is like and a little bit of what it's like to get from one to the other. If you'd like to see this video, please subscribe or come back. If you like the video, of course, click the like button. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you tune in again soon.